Ladies and gentlemen, Ian Bowman-Henderson.
So, I have one slide here, and I'm going to point to you guys when I want you to do it, so be ready. As you might have perceived, I do a lot of stuff with the internet. I think it's pretty important and pretty cool. And I want to see if I can sort of work with everyone in here of different ages and different backgrounds and different philosophies to sort of explain why I think the internet is so amazing. And it's cool because hopefully by the end you'll see that kind of is a metaphor for why the internet is amazing. So, hopefully. So, let's start with a little metaphor. What is the internet to me? It's like a huge room like this, except not quite like this, because it's filled with lots of small groups of different people just talking and expressing themselves, listening and reading, and carrying on their own separate conversations. So maybe it's not quite like this room. Maybe it's more like another room in this school, the lunchroom, where we've got different tables with different cliques, all babbling on about their own isolated interests. We've got over here Miss Grisham's 8th grade math class from this school, and they're talking about how daggone hard her tests are, and man, if they only could have got that other teacher, they'd be doing great in math. And we've got a nice group of girls over here whose friend Susie, unfortunately, during 3rd period, came down with an illness and had to go to the doctor's office and started barfing all over the nurse's office. And then we have another group over here, some goody-goodies talking about how Oak Hills just won its 10th actual award for academic excellence. And they're talking about how excited Principal Brennan is about this award. And then over here, we have a group of kids planning to cover the bathroom in toilet paper next week, a group of young miscreants. But they're all talking to their friends in their little clique, no pun intended, not yet, and basically just minding their own business. They're not listening to each other. Even if they wanted to listen to each other, they really couldn't because of the drone of everyone talking. And it's pretty much the same on the internet, with one exception. You actually can listen to everyone else if you want, because it's all recorded. And that's pretty cool. It means that one person, like me, could know all about Miss Grisham's class, all about Susie's illness, all about Principal Brennan's success, and all about the impending toilet paper attack next week. But why? Why would I want to? What's so cool about all of this stuff? In fact, didn't I start this talk by saying that none of these people cared what any of these other people were talking about? That's why they're cliques, after all, right? Isn't it all just random babble? So, I guess you should be asking me right now, with a good hard look, Ian, what are you getting at? What is the point of this? Who cares, for instance, that Susie is sick? Well, for one thing, Miss Grisham, who mysteriously had one person absent from her hard math test today, might care where Susie is. Maybe Susie came down with a case of didn't study-itis, and we need to track her down. Or maybe the 7th grade wrestling team would love to overhear that conversation about how difficult Miss Grisham's 8th grade math class is before they have to go and register themselves. And I can say that because I was a wrestler. Or maybe all of the boys in the school would like to know what day that TP attack is coming on so that they can go number 2 before they get to school that day. Or maybe Principal Brennan would like to know when that attack is coming so that she can get it under control before the superintendent comes to visit to give her award. So, even beyond that, we can go to the individuals within the group. Maybe one of the TP vandals has a crush on Susie, and he was going to tell her today in math class, but now he'll wait until she's feeling a little less barfy. So as you can see, all of these people, just by listening to these seemingly random conversations, could actually have a chance to change the way they're going to behave over the course of a day. All of a sudden, this thing that wasn't even being said to you because it was so far from what you consider your day-to-day life, has the profound ability to let you live your life better. Pretty cool. In technobabble, and going out of our metaphor, this is referred to as collective intelligence. Our ability to take all of the separate conversations happening on the internet, look at them, recontextualize them, and then make them into something meaningful, something higher, something more than the sum of these parts that can impact all of us in a positive way. The internet has given us the means to talk and express ourselves like this, but it's not enough just to talk more often to more people. Because the idea that knowing more about the world and looking harder at others before we act would make us all better has been around for a lot longer than the internet. So the internet can't be the key. The key, I say, for what this is, to truly understand another person and apply it to yourself before you act, is empathy. The internet is an engine of empathy. Empathy reminds us that everyone is, in their own way, as smart as we are, as capable as we are, as emotional as we are, and fundamentally as important as we are. Empathy is the key. The internet is only a tool, and beyond that door is the potential of our complete collective knowledge. And let me tell you, when we stop talking about the cafeteria and start talking about everyone in the world talking about every subject we've ever considered, this is a lot more powerful. For instance, did you know that more words have been published via Twitter than all printing presses in the history of humanity? There are more things that people have just spouted out into the ether because they felt like it and they had a whim than anyone ever wrote, ever together before Twitter was invented. That's a lot of stuff to read, right? That's a lot of cool stuff to look at. And we begin to see that when we break this down, it's very powerful indeed. For instance, small groups of people like hypochondriacs on Twitter are actually better at monitoring the spread of a disease in a local area than the CDC, just because they're privately freaking out about it to their friends, and they're willing to devote their whole day instead of just their 9 to 5 like a paid expert. Going further, something as important as defense. Just this week, over 10 different military installations measuring more miles and miles and miles long in the middle of the Chinese desert were discovered by people using Google Earth. No one knew they were there before. And within a few hours of their discovery, there were sprawling theories about the potential significance of these military installations. Just people, just talking, just doing what they're interested in. Not because they're paid, because they're passionate. There's another site that's kind of like able to do this for everything, and it's called Reddit, if anyone's ever heard of that. I guarantee you, if you post a compelling question or fact on Reddit, you'll get back 100 times more compelling information in 10 minutes, and they'll correct your grammar, because that's our collective intelligence. So hopefully you're getting the point. The internet is really big, and all of the information on it is somehow really important. In a few shorter words, there's more to a tweet than meets the eye. So why didn't I start there with all these great facts about the power of the internet to change our lives? Why did I start with all this crap about empathy instead of hitting you with the cool facts about China and disease and how people that just watch weather maps on weatherchannel.com are actually more accurate at tracking storms than people who are paid to track storms? Why didn't I say that first? It seems so much more powerful. Because here's the real point of my talk. The people who fear our collective intelligence, who have something to gain by keeping us ignorant, are well aware of the power of the internet already. And they fear it. And with that, I'm going to refer to my own little bit of technology so that I can wrap this up in the words that I spent the most time composing about it. So why didn't I start with why the internet is just powerful and why we need to use it with empathy? Because people who fear it know how powerful it is. They will slander it. They will attack it. They're already trying to steal from us the youth of this building, that which is our collective birthright, the next evolution of the social contract, which is when we say, because we are all free to think and free to believe, that we owe each other our thoughts and beliefs. That these things are the toll that we pay for living in a civil society, the ability to know one another, and all the power that comes with it. In fact, what I'm talking about is omniscience, the ability to collectively be more than human. Governments around the world already censor the internet because it threatens their power. Our own government is currently attempting and has already passed laws to censor the internet because they fear its power, because credit card companies like Visa fear its power. They stop letting you pay companies like WikiLeaks that tell you that Visa funds revolutions. Companies sue websites which allow people to talk freely, like gas companies, about the dangers of things like hydraulic fracturing, because the things put forward on those sites are opinions, and they may not be true. We shouldn't have the right to talk about them. Never mind that that gas company only exists because we live in a civil society that allows them to go about their business. Movie industries and the music industry tell you that you have no right to listen to music you have not paid for, because they have to make a buck off of it. Because they don't want you to remember that there was a day, not 100 years ago, but about 60 or 70 years ago, when there was no movie industry, when there was no music industry, when there were artists and content and power and thought and sharing. It's hard to make a buck off that, and people don't want that world coming back after its short hiatus. Corporations, even journalists like myself, look at our generation and call us things like narcissistic, self-involved, lazy, because we will sit at a computer and talk about what matters to us, because we're not going to sit there and bury what we are. These people will call us criminals. They'll call us narcissists right up until the moment that they fade into the bowels of history. And why? Because they have no empathy. You to them are a price tag or a result or an ends to a means, not a thinking being with a light and a soul. They seek to blind us to the golden light of intelligence that shines bright within each human being, collectively light that shines so bright you can see it from outer space. These cities, these bright twinkling lights were not made by a man. They were not made by a government, just as no millionaire has made it himself unless he is a thief. Because the simple truth is that we all built this, and the hope for the future burns as brightly in the eyes of our greatest enemy as in our worst friend, or our greatest friend. And if we can only find it through empathy, we collectively have the power to change this world. Thank you.